watching TVS, Television Simulator.
How's it going, everyone? Today I am going to show you how to use repeating pages, repeating lines, and variables in Television Simulator in the new bulletin editor. I've constructed this demo here where we have a fictional restaurant called Burgerberg, and we've got 4 different foods for entrees, and then in a second it'll switch over to sides. And what we've got here is essentially 2 pages, or at least one repeating page group, that will have one category and then the other category. And you'll see on the second page we've got a few repeating lines, and on the first page we've also got a few repeating lines. It's the same thing that's repeating. You've got a store title down here that's changed based off of a variable, and each one of these lines we've got the name of the food and the price. So the way that I built this is in the bulletin editor, so you go to /bulletin-editor, and then you create a new project. And what I've done is I've set a background color and a text color so that it's this brown background, the white text. And then the header up here is yellow and black, and the footer down here is white and black. None of that really matters, it's just styling, but this isn't a tutorial about styling. But anyway, the point is let's start with the store. So down here in the footer it says welcome to my store, and you can see what I've done is I have 3 different chunks. So welcome to my store, exclamation point. And the reason I do that is because I want to replace the name my store with the name of the store, so Burgerberg in this example. So what we're going to do is you click on the footer, you go here, you say this is the chunk that I want to have a variable on. You'll see a variable indicator here if there is one. And then if you don't have this pane here, chunk programmability, if you don't have that expanded, expand it, and then you'll see it says replace this chunk's text with runtime data when presenting it. So if you click add new key and you type in the key name like store name. Now I'm not going to save it because I've already done it, but when you click save, it'll show you variable key says store name. Now if we go over to the data tab, and if we go to the default category, which is stuff that applies to every page, and then we go to the first page here, you can see it says under variables with no group, store name, and you'll type whatever you'd like. So I'll type Burgerville instead, and you can see we've changed it. Now, as far as the repeating pages, so you see we have sides and we had entrees. We just have one page here, but it's in a page group. And if we didn't have a page group, let's just see, here's a new page. So say this is what you had when you're looking at it. You click create page group, and then you name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it example. And then you'll see it says page group is called example. Now, I'm just going to remove that so you can see. So when we had this here, it says the page group that we created is called menu items. And this will basically just say when we encounter this page, we're going to repeat it over and over with whatever data we've entered in. So you can see menu items in the data tab, and your page groups, you can see if we select this, we've got the ability to add and remove pages. So if I wanted to add a new page, I can click add new page, and we've got up here the header, and then the food title and the price. I don't know that I've shown the title, but that's just another variable. So if we go over here to click on the header, you'll see it's called food category is what I named it. And so if we go here, menu items, so we go to page 3, I could start typing food category. Let's just call it, I don't know, treats. And then you'll see that for this page, for page 3, the header is treats. And then you'll see that we have food title and price. And these are in something called a block group. Now, the reason I call it a block group is because it works with multiple lines. But in this example, I have just one line. But let's take a look at it. So we have under pages, if you click on food title and stuff like here, we've got food title and price. And this one is a variable called description. And this one here with the 00.00, that's price. And you can see we've got the $sign is hard-coded in here. And food title, it doesn't have all these dots here. So the way that works is it's under chunk programmability again. For description, it says length 34. I've just punched that in because that's based off of this fixed width. You know, that's the width that we support. So if we go back, we can, you know, make it shorter. Or if we increase the length, it'll go longer. If you go too long, it'll like start wrapping like this. But this was exactly what I wanted. So then to line things up, if I had no padding character, then it would say, well, there'd be nothing there. So I put a dot so that you can more easily follow everything across. Now, right pad and left pad, we could have everything over on the right or on the left. So however you want it. But then for the price, I just put 00.00 just so I could like measure more easily, because all this gets replaced at the time that we run it. And then I was able to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the length. I didn't need to pad this one because, you know, say I had a padding character there, then it would like 0.00.0, which is not what we want. So instead, we've got it like this. And so now we've just got 5 of these exactly. And if it overruns the screen, then it won't print anymore. So you got to just take that into mind when you're choosing what the length is that you want it to be. And this whole line, food title, dollar, price, I added that to line programmability by assigning a repeating block key, which I just called meals. If you wanted to add a new key, you could call it something else, but I called it meals. And now when we go over here, we've got, you'll see on a page that has treats, or, you know, or a repeating page, I mean, you go to the page, and if you've got a block group that's available, then it'll show you meals. So you choose the one that you want, and then you say add block. So the first block, I'm just going to call this ice cream sundae. Or is it Sunday? I don't know. Doesn't matter. And then the price will be $4.50. It doesn't matter, but you know. Now I want to add another block. So I'm going to call it root beer float. And then let's call it maybe $3. So there we go. Now we have an ice cream sundae and a root beer float. And I think this was lowercase, so I'm just going to fix that in this example. Entrees. So there we go. And you can reorder these by using move up and move down. So now I move triple cheeseburger above double cheeseburger. I'm going to move it back down. You can duplicate them by pressing the duplicate button. You can delete them over here using that. And once you're all done, press Control S to save like a draft of everything that you've got. And then the first thing you'll want to do is export from the Home tab, you'll export the layout. So if I export it here, it'll download as bulletin.json or bulletin1, bulletin2, you know, if you have more of them. And you can rename that to whatever you want. I called it over here food, or no, I called it restaurant-menu. So I'm just going to copy this. We're going to call it, instead of bulletin, we'll call it restaurant menu. And then I'm going to put it over here. I'm just going to overwrite the one I had. And then the next thing that you got to do is on the data tab, you'll click export data file, and then it'll create a new bulletin data JSON file, and I will rename that to food. And then we will just paste that in as well to our configuration folder. I'm just going to overwrite the one that we had. So inside your config file, for my example, I just have one channel, and it's displaying restaurant menu.json with the data being food.json. And so we just save that. And then we'll go into Television Simulator, refresh the page. All right, there we go. So it's switched over to treats, and now you can see that the new treats are there. So if you want to take a look at how we did this, or at least what type of data we exported here. So under food.json, you can see we got variables, store name says Burgerville, and that's for all pages. Then for the pages, we've got the page group called menu items. Then we've got our variables, and these are page variables. So we say like the category is entrees. Then we've got our lines. And so for meals, for that block group, we have the group called meals. And then we've got a list of them. So description price, description price, description price, description price. And then for the next page, we've got food category, meals, and so on, and so on. And so if you wanted to, what you could do, if you're like an application developer, you want to tie this into an API, you could take this file and use it as a template and say, I'm going to build a program that will produce this data. So store name is whatever I want it to be, pages are menu items, and then it's going to be a list of these where we have variables and then lines, and then the group is whatever you want, and then these are the variables on the line that we want to replace. And so that's essentially how you do it.